Well, hello again, and welcome to Roland's Reviews. Hope that you are having a fruitful Saturday. Sunday. Wow. I need to catch up. That's what happens when I
Going
do.
by fast.
Huh?
Weekend's going by fast.
Oh, yes. So, welcome again. If you've been here on the channel for a while, let's welcome from the Brutally Honest Talk Radio Show, Mr. Elmo. How are you doing, sir?
I'm doing well. Doing well. It's a beautiful day. How you doing?
I am good if I can get my days straight. We had a wonderful, wonderful show on Saturday. We had a good time as we normally do. And I promised you I'd be back today. So do me one small favor and hit that little thumb. That is the like button. Uh, Hopefully, YouTube will see it and share it. And maybe we can possibly trigger the YouTube algorithm and bring more people into the conversation. All right. So, I know it's been a while since you've been here. So, how has life been treating you?
Yeah, light. Yeah, it's a roller coaster. They got a ride at Six Flags named after my life.
Ah,
Uh,
what's the
called
name?
the called the Viper here in Atlanta.
Well,
So hey, I'm doing well.
yeah,
Live in Metro Atlanta. Was in Riverdale. Now in Fairburn.
right, right.
So I have a new home.
Okay.
Um, was working graveyard shift most of the time and
Right.
weekends, and that's gone. So now
Okay.
my weekends are free and up during the day, which is better for
Okay.
me.
Okay.
And it's kind of an exhaustive political season coming into the end of last year. I stepped away for
Oh
a
yeah.
couple of months.
It was a
Not
lot.
completely, but just kept a distance and chimed in on a couple of things. So
Yeah.
now I'm more back in the full swing of things.
Well, we are glad that you are back as a guest on the Roland's Reviews YouTube channel. So everyone, let's show uh, Mr. Elmo some love. And remember, now it's been a while since he's been on, but we've done some videos together and we've enjoyed it. We've had a good time. And so now I'm going to start with the roll call. If you are interested in having me call your name during the roll call, all you need to do is say hello or send an emoji. That way I can tell who is here. If not, I cannot tell. Chicago Hood, how are you doing? Um, Diane, how are you doing, love? Okay. And Chris, of course, is here. CJ Parks, how you doing, dear? Dorian, how are you? Haven't seen you in a while. Baldwin Birds is here, of course. Aurelius, Tina, how you doing, love? Roseanne is here. Mayor. So the gang is here. We got the band back together, okay? And those of you Generation X's like myself, I got that from the original Blues Brothers with John Belushi, and Dan Aykroyd, I think. Oh my God,
Hmm.
what a movie! Oh my God. So anyway, I still have not seen the remake. I never watched the remakes because I
Yeah,
have stuck in my brain the
yeah.
original, and I am so stubborn. I refuse to look at the remakes.
So just speaking on that for a second, I did see maybe 30 minutes to an hour of the one with John Goodman and Erica Badu was one of the performers in there. So it's entertaining. It's
Okay,
just not on the same level as the
of course,
original John Landis.
of course not. Um, okay, Dorian, you were busy with college acceptance. Okay, that's important. Okay, cool. As long as you were doing something productive, Dorian. I didn't know what happened to you, dear. So it's all good now. They're speaking to you now in the chat section. Okay.
All right,
So
speaking to me.
yeah.
Hello,
Um,
everybody.
yeah. All right. So look at the title. Now, if you've been here for a while, we've talked about this subject matter in bits and pieces. And So I told you, if you were here for a Saturday show, I told you that I would be taking you to this particular channel, the Defiant Lawyer. And he says that Biden accomplished more. Now, I don't know what he's smoking, but I definitely need some of it. I don't know what this guy is smoking. But if you look at the title of his video, learn why no president since LBJ accomplished more for African Americans than Biden. First of all, Black American, not African American. Elon Musk is an African American. So he's starting off wrong. All right. Which one, Dorian? Greetings to you as well. So anyway, this guy, and this is the one, if you were here for Saturday's show, I told you he wrote this book. And you see, this is the beginning of each of his videos. He's trying to sell his book, Education Injustice, How Public Schools Fail African American Males. And of course, we've been hearing this crap for 40 years. And again, no one is willing to tell the truth. Well, Thomas Sowell, of course, he tells the truth, but no one listens to him unless they have more than 2 brain cells. Prayer review. All right, Dorian. Very good, sir. Very good. So we're not going to talk about that today, but this is the guy I was telling you about. He's one of those leftist loonies always saying, how the education system is just mistreating Black children and all the horrible things that the education system is doing to the Black children. How you doing? Things like a lion. Good afternoon. So that has been debunked as far as I'm concerned. But I wanted to share this topic, and I have some, I have some Thomas Sowell clips to share with you. If you've been here on the channel for a while, I told you I am an avid follower of Dr. Sowell. And since we're out of school tomorrow, I'll be doing some reading. So I have a few of his books. Obviously, I'm still working, so I don't have all the time that I would like to read as much as I would like to. But I read here and there. Okay. And so tell me what your thoughts are. Tina, yes, I love Thomas Sowell. So if you're going to make a bust of someone and put them in Times Square or a bronze statue, how about Thomas Sowell? Instead of, I did a video, Elmo, that big overweight Black woman with funky clothing with a scowl on her face. They said, well, we put that there because there are only white men there and we needed to add some color, some diversity.
Right.
And it's so sad, that people don't realize that they are mocking you and laughing at you and you thinking, oh, they're honoring me. No, they're not. Stop it.
Now, something that's different with today's generation or in these times is that there are no heroes like they used to be. There used to be specific people.
You know who their heroes are? George Floyd. I'll continue.
Criminals or victims.
Criminals, victims, those are their heroes.
But there's a thing of when someone's identity is in their race. So people can look at that and feel like I'm represented. That's me.
Yeah.
That doesn't just represent me. That's me. A random person, a random no-name person.
Right.
And that's problematic because that's not where your identity is.
But they have been bamboozled and indoctrinated and brainwashed, and so they don't know any better. CJ said, this author is delusional. I sell oceanfront property to whoever believes that Biden did more for Black Americans than that. CJ, this guy is nuts. Okay. So what else can I tell you? In my opinion, he betrayed the Black community. Robert, Black America was doing a heck of a lot better prior to LBJ and his so-called war on poverty. So, and Thomas, who has more receipts than Dr. Thomas Sowell? No one I'm aware of. And I'm going to play some of his clips too. Hit that like button, folks, if you are enjoying this content. Please share this video out. Let's bring more people into the conversation. U.S. Army retired. Thank you for your service, sir. For all of my men and women,
Yes,
or if you've had family members to serve like I have, thank you for your service. We know tomorrow is dedicated to you. Aurelius makes a good point. I have not heard of anyone smarter than Thomas Sowell. Joe Biden did more for illegal criminals than he did for anybody. Tina's dropping some truth bombs here. So Mayor said criminal. Yeah, he did more for criminals than anyone. So Dorian says, I read Dr. Claude Anderson. Yeah, he's good. So let's listen to this crapola. You know, I'll give you my review. Elmo will also give you his thoughts. So here we go. Try not to throw up your lunch.
Before we get started, please go over to Amazon.com and grab a copy of my book, Education and Justice. If you have an African-American son in public school, you need this book because I teach you the many ways that public schools mistreat African-American boys and what you can do to help your son. So go over there and get your copy immediately.
So this is the guy that I've been telling you about. He's called his channel, the Defiant Lawyer. I know U.S. Army, but I know it's for you guys as well, because we have a lot of people that are here, but they gave everything. They gave all. They're still alive, but they have PTSD and some other issues going on. So they're still here, but not quite all of them, if that makes sense. Dorian, he said that liberals are more hypocritical than conservatives. Yes. Robert, George Floyd should have never tried to use the counterfeit money to make a purchase. He would still be alive today. Okay. Diane, why is Trump the only president to actually give cash back to Americans in time of need? Right, Diane? So listen to this guy. So you heard the first, I'll let you hear he's peddling that book. So just from hearing that first statement, you know where this is going. Hit that like button, folks. Here we go.
Joe Biden was the absolute most pro-Black president since Lyndon Johnson. Let me say it again. I'm going to prove to you with facts that Joe Biden was the most pro-Black president since Lyndon Johnson. All right, I'm going to get into this because it just needs to be said. There's so much disinformation out there today that a lot of what I'm going to share with you, I doubt that you've even heard it. Because if you're tuning in to social media, if that's where you get your news, if that's where you get your information, or even main media, you're not going to be told all the awesome things that Joe Biden did for the African-American community. I spent last year talking about this a lot. So I want to do it again. And I think this is the perfect time. Now, in the meantime, keep Joe Biden and his family in your prayers. He was recently diagnosed with prostate cancer and reportedly.
I have to read I knew these comments were going to be off the chain. Oh boy. Woo. Dorian, he's the same guy that defended Kamala Harris as being a Black woman. Right, Dorian? So you know where we're going with this guy. And when I saw that he had this video, I was like, OMG, I can't with this guy. And he should have changed the title to that. Instead of talking about everything Biden has done for Black America, which is nothing, talk about what he did for millions of illegals. Oh my goodness. CJ, I will go over to Amazon. I think his book would be a good toilet paper source. CJ says, stay tuned. CJ, that's all I would use it for. I wouldn't read that crap. Oh my God. CJ, look at my comment just below yours. So we're on the same page. There's several of these left-wing lunatics peddling their book. Yes. And me being in the field of education, you know that's a crock. The Democrats use Biden instead of helping him. They're truly heartless people. Yes, Baldwin. Here we go.
It has metastasized in his bones. So keep him in your prayers. He's also dealing with allegations from books and others that he should have never ran for re-election, or he covered up where he was mentally and psychologically and so on. So they're dealing with a lot. So keep them in your prayers. Let me also say that I am not saying any of this because I am a Democrat. I'm not a Democrat. I am not a Republican. I have not been a part of either political party in more than 25 years. So I am neither. I was a Democrat. I was a Republican. I have strong disagreements with both parties about different things. And as a man of faith, as a clergy member, it's just best for me to be nonpartisan and just stick with what I believe God's kingdom represents.
So even though he said he's not a Democrat, just Elmo, this guy, if you look at all his videos, he's saying one thing, but okay. From what everything he supports, his stances on everything. Yeah. What do you think, Elmo?
Well, I haven't seen the video yet, but so far, I've talked to people face to face who have said, name one thing that the Republicans have done for Black people, or that this president did for Black people, and we have to understand that it's a slave mentality to even ask that question. We shouldn't want anybody to do anything for us.
Right.
So this is a multiracial country. If you pluck out one race and you try to do something for them, edify them above everybody else, is either because you feel like they're inferior or superior.
Right.
Right. So
Point.
like,
okay.
Like Louis Farrakhan, I would call him a Black supremacist. He believes that we are better than any other race, that everything in the earth and on the earth belong to the Black man, and we own it, and we are God's chosen people, right? So then you got people who say, well, we're all of these D's, we're downtrodden and disenfranchised and disgusted and busted and all of that. So we need a 12-point handicap in the game. We need y'all to move the goalposts, and we need you to give us favors and gifts because we deaf, dumb, and blind and inept, and we just can't get right. So whoever is the president or these political parties, they should be for the whole country and for America. So that's what I think so far. We shouldn't be looking for him to do anything for us. Usually when people say that, what they mean is a handout. What am I going to get? What have you given me or given us?
Okay, good point. Good point.
So that's where I am. That's where I'm so far.
Okay. Lanita, how you doing, dear? Midnight says, remember when Biden was in the pool with Black kids? He said he learned a lot about roaches that summer. I remember that. Baldwin said, told this guy, keep God's name out of your mouth. Aurelia asked me to please read their comment. Aurelia, did I miss your comment? Oh my God. If I
in there.
Charge it to my head, not my heart. Roland, I have not heard of anyone smarter than Thomas Sowell. I think that's the one you want me to read. All right, dear. Here we will continue with the video, but yeah, this guy is full of it. Here we go.
Not what these political parties represent. All right, so let's get into this. Why the facts show that Joe Biden is absolutely the most pro-Black president, or was the most pro-Black president since Lyndon Johnson. All right, let's go to another screen. So as you see, this says fact sheet. So I'm going to give you facts. I'm going to give you facts. And you, again, probably never heard of some of the facts that I'm going to share. But I'm going to give you facts. And facts are those pesky little truths that are true whether you believe them or not, basically. And in the court of public opinion, I know facts are not very important. As an attorney, I'm more accustomed to the court of law, where facts are everything. And we do a whole lot of stuff when we're in trial or hearings to share facts rather than rhetoric. But in the court of public opinion, it doesn't matter because people believe any and everything. They don't require facts. Well, I'm going to give you facts here. Here's a fact sheet about the Biden-Harris administration, okay? All right, let me just read this first paragraph, and then we're going to get specifically into what he did for the African American community. 4 years ago, we stood in a winter of peril and a winter of possibilities. We were in the grip of the worst pandemic in a century, the worst economic crisis since the Great Depression, and the worst attack on our democracy since the Civil War. But we came together as Americans and we braved through it. We emerged stronger and more prosperous and more secure. A little bit of the second paragraph. Today, we have the strongest economy in the world and have created a record 16.6 million new jobs. Wages are up, inflation continues to come down. The racial wealth gap is the lowest it's been in 20 years. We're rebuilding our entire nation, urban, suburban, rural, and tribal communities. So that's a general description of where the country was when Biden left office, or just short of him leaving office.
Now, notice how, now he says he's not a liberal. You listening to him talk, I think you know which side of the fence he's on. They never, ever mention, the finances that were used, the billions of dollars that were spent on non-American citizens. They never mentioned the crime situation. If you didn't see my video from Saturday, remember Kristi Noem, the director of Department of Homeland Security, her pocketbook was stolen. The loonies said it was a white man, and they were so happy. Well, now they're having to retract it because it was two illegals. So they're nuts. Chris said, never trust a lawyer, judge, or prosecutor. Seems that's who the 1%ers who like to run us. Okay, Chris, that's a good point. Tina also said, American citizens have been living under the Biden administration. That's a fact. Under the Biden's administration, Americans couldn't afford to live. Right, Tina? He's not saying that. Think like a lion. I don't know what universe you live. Thinks like a lion. When you figure out where this guy was living or is living, tell me, because it definitely can't be in America where the rest of us have been living. U.S. Army, a clergyman, and a lawyer. He forgot bull crapper. I'll continue. Woo.
And you can verify every bit of that. When he took office in 2021, we were absolutely dealing with a terrible pandemic. People were dying like crazy, thousands by the day. A lot of those people, African-American people, African-American men especially, were literally dying, sometimes 10,000s per day. And that, of course, caused the economy to tank, that caused inflation to rise. It was just a really, really, really bad time. And Kamala Harris and President Joe Biden fixed every bit of that, such that when they left office, inflation was way down, unemployment was way down, the GDP had increased, things were looking up when Trump took office. All right. So he is telling the truth here in this fact sheet. Now, let's get straight to where this fact sheet talks about the things that he did specifically for African Americans. Okay, here we go. Racial equality, equal opportunity, and diversity.
So this guy is always complaining and talking about, they're taking away DEI or affirmative action. So again, but he keeps saying, I'm not a liberal. Yeah, tell me another one. Beverly, how you doing, love? Dorian said, $8 for a carton of eggs was fixing the economy. Boom. U.S. Army, got to put my boots on because every time he speaks, the crap gets deeper. Yes.
This is a good crowd today.
Oh, honey, this is you need to come. This, oh my God, this chat room is fire every time we're here. Jim Crow Joe, yes. How you doing, Shannon? He's saying that Jim Crow Joe Biden has been the best president, or he says for African Americans since LBJ. So this guy, I need, where's U.S. Army? Please, sir, let me borrow those boots. So I'm leaving this up so you can read this. This guy is nuts all the way. Midnight, there was no such thing as a president Joe Biden. Well, he was the figurehead. Midnight. We know that it was Obama who was pulling the strings, running the show in the background, but it was Obama's third term. I've said that here several times.
And Pelosi.
Yeah, we know the Dems were running it because he was having some major cognitive decline that they lied about, which we all knew. Go back and look at my older videos. We've been talking about his decline for over a year. So this is what, now again, he keeps saying, oh, I'm not a Democrat. Read this crap. This is straight from their playbook. Racial equality, equal opportunity, diversity. And what he's failing to say is everything they did was for non-American citizens. They didn't do anything for Americans. And that's been my whole problem. Aurelius says, I guess, yeah, maybe it's YouTube Aurelius, but I never did see the just retype it. If you type something and I don't see it, it may have disappeared. It's all about keeping Black people oppressed to depend on the government. Mayor, say it again for the people in the back. But this guy is talking about how wonderful. Lanita, how much are they paying him? And we need to see if he's getting anything from Skamala or the Dems. This guy is, I just listen to I watch his videos, but I'm just like, oh my God. And he's a lawyer. He needs to return all of his degrees. That third term didn't stop Obama. That's right, Midnight. He had time for Diddy. All right, here we go.
From day one, the Biden-Harris administration committed to restoring the soul of our nation and made significant progress to redress systemic barriers, reduce burdens, and close unjust gaps. President Biden signed 2 historic executive orders to advance racial equity, equality, and support for underserved communities through the federal government. Well, we know since then, Trump has signed executive orders rescinding both of these executive orders. All right, just keep in mind the differences in these 2 administrations and what they have done for the African-American community. To promote racial equality and promote equal opportunity, President Biden and Vice President Harris focused on increasing access to federal contracting dollars, capital, and lending programs for small disadvantaged businesses. All that has been, again, rescinded from Trump's executive orders. Reducing discrimination and approval bias in the housing market, very important. Tackling persistent poverty and building economic prosperity in rural communities. Reconnecting communities left behind and divided by historic redlining, disinvestment, and inadequate transportation infrastructure. He did every bit of this, okay, and more. Let's keep reading. Addressing health and healthcare disparities, including tackling the maternal health crisis and increasing access to treatment for rare and severe disease like sickle cell, rooting out educational inequities and preserving pathways to equal opportunity, ensuring all Americans can access the federal benefits they are entitled to.
These comments are off the chain. I love it. How you doing, James? Dorian said this is a farce. CJ, this guy must have gotten a little bit of that campaign money from Comma Chameleon. Something that makes you go, things that make you go, yes. And so thinks like a lion. I will not take a bite out of that sandwich. Thinks like a lion. Me either. I'm good. Kelly, how you doing? Didn't Trump do that with Scott? Opportunities on? Yes. How you doing, Kelly? Blah blah blah. Say something and actually doing something. 2 different things, 2 different horses. Okay. Dorian said, "What an oxymoron! Word salad at its finest." Yeah. So and again, when these people talk, they don't talk about all the horrible things that happened. In reference to, of course, them letting millions of undocumented illegals in this country, and they have wreaked havoc on our medical system, healthcare system, our economies, right? Yes, Kelly, yes. Tina said DEI versus merit. Exactly. I'll continue.
Promoting fairness, transparency, accountability in the justice system, countering discrimination and hate-fueled violence, bolstering proactive enforcement that protects the civil rights of all Americans. Again, so much of what Trump is doing in office right now is to wipe away every bit of this. But these were the things that Joe Biden and Kamala Harris have been focused on. All right, let's get into some specifics. Black and Latino communities. Because of these efforts, the Biden-Harris administration made record progress. Here's how. They achieved the lowest Black unemployment rate on record and a historically low Latino unemployment rate. That's true. The Biden-Harris administration brought unemployment down for the Black community to the lowest it has ever been in American history. Trump, he claimed to have done that, and it was historically low during his administration, and that was because of the work of Barack Obama.
So, yeah, and they're still going back to Obama, right? Robert said they both didn't do anything for the Black community. Hey, I told you they only did things for non-American citizens. Dorian, Sleepy Joe was a racist. He didn't want to point that out. No, because they love him. So again, this guy is always, oh, I'm not a Democrat. Yes, you are. Stop it. And so, hey, let me continue. This guy, and we all need a laugh. So just listen, every time I watch his video, I just sit there and laugh. It's hilarious. Here we go.
When Trump took office, he inherited Obama's economy, and he had things going very well, despite him taking over the economy when it was almost tanked. I mean, Obama literally saved the country. So at any event, Biden has on record the lowest Black unemployment in American history. All right. Also, lifted 440,000 Black children, 360 Latino children out of poverty through increased SNAP benefits and narrowed racial disparities in child poverty to a historic.
How so you see the narrative he's forming here. And now they're really crying about something about SNAP benefits and racial disparities. And we know there is so much waste, fraud, as well as abuse in that area. It seems like every day you're finding someone's being arrested. Kamala was washing collard greens at a bathtub. Yeah, in her bathtub. Exactly. So yeah, right. Things like a lion, they make it up as they go. Lanita, he's part of the Black Bole that believes he is above the general FBA population. He's all about being a good DNC pet, accepting dry biscuits for attention. Boom. Oh my goodness. Yes. Elmo, I think you have something going on in the background. I hear something playing. All right.
Here's something playing? Or you hear, I'm sorry.
All right.
There's some conversation downstairs, or do you hear music or?
Yeah, a conversation. I hear a conversation.
Okay. All right. Okay. Sorry about that. But
you're back. Okay.
Yeah. I had a comment I wanted to make.
Go ahead.
So I was going to go in the direction of the things that he's listed, talking about sickle cell research and all of that. But you know what? For this person to not acknowledge that Biden wasn't even in control, not making any decisions.
Nope.
Biden wasn't making any decisions. Spent more weekends away from the White House than any president, with all of these mysterious trips to Rhode Island or somewhere, or where was he going? He was going to some other Delaware. Going to Delaware. We still don't know why he was doing that, right? So anybody who's honest with themselves, been paying attention, he hasn't been able to do anything.
Nope.
Whoever was targeting things that they thought that Black people wanted, and trying to make those things accessible to us or to get our attention. Okay, but like you said, Obama, Pelosi, and the other people that were running the party, but he was in mental decline.
And they know that. They
That's
know
why he had
it.
to step down. And he's talking about what a lot of people don't know. I want to hear him or somebody else say this is a fact: is
Yeah.
that Joe Biden was going to be tried in court, and a judge said that he is not mentally fit to be tried. Okay,
Yeah.
so that's probably a liberal or a left wing judge trying to look out for him or save him. Definitely
Right.
wasn't a Republican judge, because a Republican judge would probably say, "Well, let him take the witness stand.
Right.
If there's nothing wrong with him, let him talk." So he couldn't even. They tested him. They tested his brain and
Yeah.
said he's not fit. It would be cruel and harsh and unusual
Of
and
course.
inhumane for us to put him on the stand. This is
Of
the
course.
president of the United States.
Oh yeah. Yeah. And you're absolutely right. And U.S. Army says, I bet he has less than 10 people in his congregation. Kelly Ray, I've seen more homeless people in the last 3 years in my state than I've ever seen. I don't know how that's a good thing. Right. And so let me see, Chubbs. Chubbs, you behave. Let me see what Chubbs retracted his statement. Obama opened the gates of Hades. Biden held them open. Yes, really, Roland. That's a good. Biden signed a crime bill, and yeah, again, I did a video, Aurelius. I did a video on Jim Crow Joe, on all of the racist things he has said and done in the past. But what? The Democrats, what do they say? They give him a free pass. They don't care what he says, they don't care what he's done. He's good old Joe to them. So but Biden's been ill mentally and physically for years. Right, Lanita? They've been high, they hid it as long as they could. And when he did that debate with Trump, the proverbial cat was out of the bag. Let me continue with this moron.
Low during the COVID-19 pandemic through the expanded child tax credit. And they are now, in Trump's, again, executive orders, is ripping all of this apart. All of this apart. SNAP benefits, every bit of it is being ripped apart. Between Trump's executive orders and this budget bill that they're trying to pass right now, everything that Biden and Harris did for the African-American community is being dismantled right in front of our eyes.
Well, people will have to do, and I was talking with someone about this recently because I did a video on this. People are going to have to figure it out and make better choices, better life decisions. And again, I say this all the time. If you're poor, you're in poverty and you're struggling and you have one child, why would you have another and another? So that is these programs promote bad behavior.
Can I say something about that?
Yes, sir.
Right, because he mentioned SNAP, and
Yeah.
so again, give us stuff. Now, I don't want welfare to completely go away, but I just want to mention that there was a study on people that are in poverty and on welfare and government assistance, and what they found out that the majority of people, the vast majority, are in poverty not because they don't make enough money, but because of, like you said, their decisions and how they manage that money.
Life choices and decisions that people make, but they get a free pass, and there's the excuse is it's the white man's fault. It's
Yeah,
because of white supremacy and racism. No,
right.
as I tell my students, it's because of the decisions and the choices that you made.
Yes.
Stop blaming all of your problems on one race of people. That you will never improve the situation. When you have black bole like this guy sit up and make excuses. I'd love to debate this guy
Yeah.
because again, he's one of these people that is always denigrating the educational system saying that we are doing all these things to these black children, because if you look statistically speaking at expulsion rates, at suspension rates, all of the infractions that are committed by students of all races, black is the highest. So
and you know what?
Instead of saying, well, what's going on in the home, it's the proverbial, oh, we're creating the pipeline from the school to the prison. And I told you, I vehemently protest. I have not created anything like that. I teach the students that want to learn. If you don't want to learn, go over there and sit down. Just be quiet. That's cool. It's great to be an American. I'll put your zeros in, but as long as you don't cause any problems, you can sit here and be quiet and I'll put your zeros in.
Here's a question. Here's a question for people to think about. In the black community or schools that are 90% or 95% black, why is it that it is 1%, 1 or 2% Asian students in those same schools getting the same books and the same resources? Why do the Asian students do better?
Because they're not sitting around talking about white supremacy and racism is holding them back. They're coming from their homes. They are expected to produce. I see that with my African students as well. I see that with my Hispanic students coming from other countries. They have to produce. And you can't sit up here, well, the white man, no, it's you. Stop it, Mayor. Some people actually need help from the government, but they're right, Mayor. Some do, but the program has been so used and abused. It's mind-boggling. U.S. Army, everything I hear him saying is Biden Harris threw money at the problem instead of trying to actually fix the problem, right? And U.S. Army, with all the money that the millions they were money laundering, who knows where most of that money they had, Doge is exposing all this crap. So a lot of this stuff, they're like, oh, we're putting money here and the money went somewhere else. So stop it. This guy is totally delusional. Lolita says, I can't stand his Reverend Uncle Ruckus babble. He's Reverend Victim. Facts. Miss Rowland, would you leave that dummy crying if you would leave that dummy crying if you debate him? Yes, I would be like, dude, you're nuts. When was the last time you were actually in a classroom in a public school? You just know you're sitting in some office looking at statistics, talking about how horrible white people are treating black children. Sir, you don't know what you're talking about. I'm there on the front lines every day. Not saying I know everything, but I know what I see. CJ, I think this guy's been standing under too many coconut trees. Too many have dropped on his head. My goodness, he's spewing nothing but hogwash. Facts. And U.S. Army, everything I hear. Okay, yeah. Miss Rowland, I would love for you to debate this guy. Yeah, I would shut him down. Yes, Mayor. From the womb. Facts. So again, where it all starts is the home. So don't come to me telling me what I've created. I have students at Yale University. I have students at the local Harnett County lockup. Choices you made, decisions you made had nothing to do with white people. That's you. Stop it. I'm sick of it.
And to say a couple of things or to go back with what I use the Asian students as an example.
Yeah.
It's been proven they study 4 times longer than African American or black kids.
Right. And
so that's the difference. Same resources. There's not a difference in intelligence or genetics. It's just their culture is putting the time in. Exactly. The other thing is that the Democrats want black people to depend on them.
It's the master-slave relationship.
Yes.
Right? Like when slavery was ending, that, oh no, we don't want you to our people to go. They're doing the same thing with these illegals. It's the same. They have not changed. Over 400 years, they're still doing the same thing.
They want to give people a fish instead of teaching them how to fish. Because if you give them a fish, they're going to have to keep coming back to your fish market.
Right.
Whereas if they learn how to do it themselves, they'll be in control and they get their own fish, and then they don't need the person that was giving it to them.
Hey, let's be clear. They want the dependency to continue.
Yep.
And again, yes, you get food stamps, whatever from the government. You never really have anything. You're just, existing, but you never really have anything. Chris,
It's paying them to keep them down.
exactly. That's what I've said that in several videos. Chris, the culture with Asians is different. Good foods are promoted over junk foods, respect for elders too. Yes, Chris. And remember when they were talking about canceling TikTok forever? I did some research. So, and we know what TikTok's a Chinese company. What do they show American children? Sexy red and all of the kinds of degenerates with degenerative behavior. Because they manipulate the logarithm. What do they show Chinese children in China? They're looking at science and other STEM videos, science and math videos. American children looking at degenerates. So, yeah, Midnight says, yeah, let rap music raise your child. Boom, mayor bondage, exactly.
Black music on the radio stations, that's played on the airwaves is the most disrespectful toward women, the most talking about smoking weed and drinking alcohol and violence. This is allowed, and that's not the education system. That's a different problem. But I'm just saying this is what we're doing that.
Oh, yeah.
There's the radio station, the music industry are lifting it up and promoting it, but we're doing it and putting it out.
Yep.
And then nobody, all these local Black DJs in these cities, from city to city across America, none of them are going to say anything. They can't because they're not calling the shots or even deciding which songs are going to be in the program.
Yep. All right, here we go. Dorian said he's doing the same thing. Al Sharpton, Jamal Bryant, race hustler, buck dancing. Dorian's been here for a while. We've been talking about that. Big Al, Uncle Coon, how you doing, love? Said, good job on this one, Miss Lynn. This guy is a nut. As an attorney, I would want this guy to represent. I would not want this guy to represent me at a fish fry. CJ, I bet the viewership of this guy's video is probably about as low as Joy Reid's show was. Just saying. Yeah, this guy. Oh my God. Just how you doing, Caesar? We're glad you're here. Hit the like button, folks. If you have Big Al, share this on your Facebook page, dear. Bring more people into the conversation. Mediocre. Yeah, just like the video. And this is what what I tell students. If there's a word you're using, the N word, you use it all day long in the hallways, all over the school. If you're using it, you can't get angry if someone else using it and they're not Black. You're using it all day, every day. So I don't want to hear it. Stop it. The double standards. No, don't want to hear it. All right, let me continue.
All right. He doubled Black business ownership and increased Latino business ownership by 40% since before the pandemic. Because one of the biggest complaints that African Americans had was that we were not able to get small business administration loans. Well, Biden and Vice President Harris, they changed that. And Blacks began to get record numbers of small business administration loans. They even changed the rules so that people who were previously convicted of felons could get small business administration loans. They tripled the number of SBA-backed loans to Black-owned businesses and doubled the number of SBA-backed loans to Latino businesses, invested a record of more than $19 billion in historically Black colleges and universities, as well as nearly $16 billion in Hispanic serving institutions. That is historic. Again, the most pro-black president since Lyndon Johnson.
Yeah, go talk to those people in Chicago as well as other sanctuary cities and see what they have to say to you. No, he's not pro-black. He's very con-black. Okay, stop it. Robert from the Crapper. Trump did more for black colleges, not by Dorian. Yes, Trump did that his first time in office. So he needs to stop. Let me continue. Caesar said this man is totally out of touch. Yes, he is.
And these are the facts. Took on racial bias in home appraisals, closed the racial home value misvaluation gap by 40%, achieved the largest single year increase in home ownership rates for Latinos, reduced mortgage insurance premiums for FHA loans, saving more than 130,000 black households and 185,000 Latino households an average of $900 per year. Isn't it wild and crazy that despite doing all this, a record number Latino men voted more for Trump than Biden?
Because they know you're full of crap. And I don't know where he's getting these statistics. I'll continue.
And an increasing number of black men voted more for Trump than Biden, despite them doing all these things for the African American and Latino communities. Why? Because of the disinformation.
Anyone who understands what's actually going on. Oh, remember, they kept saying that, oh, the disinformation. It's not disinformation. Those are people who learned what was really going on and made an informed decision when they voted. I'll continue.
That was being put out there. And of course, because Kamala is a female and she's black, that hurt her as well with those two groups.
Oh my God. This
identity politics.
Hey, this comment section is getting ready to blow up because when he said that, I'm just warning you, Elmo, they're gonna get him.
I mean, it's so stupid. Black women wouldn't even vote for Kamala Harris. He's saying that she didn't get elected, got less than 100 electoral votes for that because she's a woman.
Yeah, because she's black. No, she had no policy. Your democratic policies were rejected by the American people.
Barack Obama is brown, biracial, but he's brown. He got elected, so that debunks that. And Hillary Clinton won the popular vote when she ran. So obviously women voted for her. Men and women voted for her.
That's it.
Again, it's that stupid identity politics stuff, which is really a racist mentality.
And it is. All right. Caesar said people like this man are responsible for black fatigue in the black community. Yes. U.S. Army. This guy only has a half
Thank you, Dorian.
And I told you they were going to eat him up. CJ, now I get what my grandpa said to me when I was a kid. What I said goes through one ear and out the other. Sorry, Grandpa. Yeah, that's a straight lie. Yes, Mayor, I know that this guy he's a lost cause. Oh, gee, how you doing? It's because Kamami was lying nut job. Yes, Tina, I don't know what that fact sheet has that he's got. I don't know, Tina. American citizens know that lived on. Yeah, all of us who've been in this country, we know what we lived through. Brandon Rossborough, how are you doing? I built my credit under Trump and Trump and Biden. Economy made me use it. Now I'm back building under Trump again. All right, Brandon. Brandon, hit the like button, dear. Hit that subscribe button, and we'll be glad to have you here on the channel. He's not old school. He's lazy. Okay, Dorian. He's using 5% of his brain.
Less than a dinosaur.
Woo! Yep. Yet he thinks people like us are the sellouts and stupid. Yeah. Lanita, the gutter rat music and lifestyle is to control the FBA community. Yeah, the culture. And promote self-hatred, criminality, and general ratchets. People like him and his handlers make money off of reprobate behavior. We need some more laughter. Let me start this video again. Oh my God.
Groups distributed $2.2 billion in financial assistance to over 43,000 farmers, ranchers, forest landowners who previously experienced discrimination in loan programs. Increased Black families' wealth even after adjusting for inflation, 60% relative to pre-pandemic levels, the largest increase on record. These are facts.
No, they're not.
These are facts, and these facts are the reason we know that Biden was the most pro-Black president since Lyndon Johnson. But I'm not finished. Let's also look at his cabinet and key appointments while he was in office.
We know with the lunatic loonies, they're all about Black faces in high places. And so that's where he's going with. And this is when I talk to liberals, well, the Republicans don't give Black people high positions. So this is again, the identity politics. And I guess in their eyes, they're not giving enough Black people high positions. Robert, I think you should talk to the Black farmers. Yes, here we go with Dorian. It's all about symbolism. We know that Kamala Harris was Indian and Irish and airheaded. Yes, Tina. Let me continue this. Listen to this guy. We all need a laugh. Mayor Biden was a racist wake-up call. He thought Black people were stupid. Yes, Mayor. Yes, here we go.
It's all historic. It's all historic. Let's go back to that screen. All right. So Biden's White House staff. So we see 100 of upper-level staff members. 61 were white. The next largest group is Black.
This is embarrassing.
15 Black senior staff members in Biden's White House.
It's all about gender and identity politics. Were these people actually qualified? That's how Democrats keep Black Americans voting for them. Look, love you. We have Black people in all these positions. They don't, and you know, I can't with these people. Figure out, here comes the freaks from the cabinet. This guy never let the truth get in the way of telling a good story. Oh boy. U.S. Army said, is this an SNL skit? Oh my God. Dorian said he's just like Roland Martin, but more ignorant. Mayor, color. Are some of those staff members illegal immigrants? Probably, Robert. Dorian, I don't care if it's an alien. All right. So this, you see where this guy, but he's not a Democrat. Yes, you are.
And you know what? You know what? People like him who are going to complain and just show race and the number of people of a race, and they say you don't have enough Black people here. That name some,
right?
But they can't do that because they're not going to get into the individual. So if they could first give us some names, then we could see if they're qualified. But he's not going to do that. He's not seeing that.
It's strictly for symbolism to get to continue to garner the Black vote, whether they are qualified or not. The only thing you need is Black skin. Whether again, DEI, right? So Black people see, oh, they hired all, and I've talked to Democrats and that, but look at all the. I'm like, well, why are you? Look at all the Black people that they put in these positions. Can they do the job? No one ever answers that question. I'll continue.
I'm sorry. Go ahead.
Go ahead.
No, I was going to say, for the people in this chat, I think, the audience basically live right now, they basically agree with us. But for the people that are watching this posted later, think about if you needed brain surgery and you went to the hospital and they said, these are our top 12 surgeons. And we got 2 Black, 3 white, 1 Asian, 1 Indian. Who do you want to work on your brain? And that's all you know. That's all you know is their race. Who are you going to pick to do surgery on you?
The best surgeon. I don't give a care what color he is.
Right.
Who is the best?
When it gets down to it, when it's something important, everybody cares that the person in the position is able to do the job.
But that's
it's just propaganda.
And it is. Brandon Rossborough said they're all crooks. Yes. Dorian said, I'm in college. I'm a college student and I could easily debate this man. Yes. Everything's got to be pointed with yes, Tina. Oh, where did this guy's brains go? Because he needs to find another. Big Al. What is Big Al talking about here? Oh my God. Big Al is laughing. All right, let's continue this video. I told you I was going to make you laugh. Did I fulfill that goal? Type it in the comment section.
So 61 is the highest, 15 blacks, the second highest, then Asian, then Hispanic, then unknown.
And you know why they have black as the highest? Because for over 60 plus years, that's been the demographic that has kept Democrats in power. When blacks go out, Black Americans go out, for the most part, most of them vote, Democrats win. When they decide to vote for someone else, like this time, many voted for Trump. This time, many voted for the couch. Democrats lose. So, of course, they're going to have more black people in positions. Asian people don't vote like that. Hispanic people vote, but not, like that for Democrats. And so if you look at it, I'm talking about historically, 60 plus years, they've always had Black Americans in their back pocket. So right. Of course they know that's how they continue to win, right? So of course they're going to have more black people in positions, whether they're qualified or not. I'll continue.
So he put a whole lot of black folks in his cabinet. So he put a whole lot of black people in senior levels in the White House. All right, let's look now at his cabinet. He put more black people in his cabinet than any president in American history. He had 7 in key places. First, of course, first black female president in American history. And then there was General Lord Austin, who was over the Department of Defense, Marshall Fudge, who was over HUD, Michael Reagan, Fella Aggie, go Aggies, who was over the EPA, Shalonda Young over the all-important Office of Management and Budget, Linda Thompson, she was our UN ambassador. Then there was Cecilia Rouse, who was chair over the Council of Economic Advisors. These are key roles.
Just him talking about these African American, as he says, cabinet members. And he has, of course, the Curry Queen right here, smack dab in the middle. That tells you all you need to know about him. Chicago Hood, how you doing, love? Hey, fam. Be careful. I know you said you're driving. Okay. All right. Be careful, love. Hit the like button, folks. He put a whole lot of black people in his cabinet. Look what they did to the country in only 4 years. Right. That's what happens when you hire people who aren't qualified. Dorian, Biden put a lot of tethers in place instead of real FBAs. Chubbs, what has race got to do with it? If you're qualified for the job, what's color have Chubbs? That's what we're saying. Here we go.
Key higher echelon roles in Biden's cabinet, 7 African-American people, the most of any president in American history. He also appointed more black federal judges than any president in American history. Let me say it again. He appointed more black federal judges than any president in American history.
You know, we got to talk about her.
And that number specifically, 63 black federal judges, the most of a presidency of any length. And that is key, right? That is key because he was in office for 1 term. He did all this in 1 term.
What he did in 1 term was destroyed the country by flooding the country with millions of illegals. Brandon, and they all lied to us about his health. Yes, Brandon, I think you're new here. Doreen, how you doing, love? Hit the like button. If you have not subscribed, Brandon, please hit that subscribe button as well. Midnight. Go ahead and subscribe if you're not, dear. But yeah, this is what drives me crazy about these people. They never talk about the horrible things that Americans had to endure under the Biden-Harris administration. Because where did they put all of these illegals, these criminals that were released from, a lot of them from jails, prisons, and insane asylums on the American people? That Ketanji Brown didn't do anything for black people. That's what Robert said. CJ, thank God for Pete headset. Yeah. G8 City Blue Devil. Thank you. You're new here. G8 City. Ask the people in Chicago how he helped. G8, I just said that before you joined the chat, love. Go talk to these people in these sanctuary cities. I did videos on that. Hit the like button. Hit the subscribe button, G8, if you're enjoying this content. They're talking about how wonderful. I don't know where this fairy tale land is he's talking about, like these other loonies. But me and you and everyone else, we know what really happened under the Biden-Harris administration. Yes, Dorian. Well, I talked about that yesterday. Chubbs. Okay, so here, let me finish the video.
63 black federal judges, and I am telling you how important those federal judges are, especially in a day like today. So here are all of the, or at least the last, 14 presidents, and we see Biden is at the top with 63 judges, federal judges that he appointed. The next down, Trump, 12. Barack Obama, 62, George W. Bush, 24, Bill Clinton, 62, George H.W. Bush, 13, Ronald Reagan, 7, Jimmy Carter, 37, Gerald Ford, 3, Richard Nixon, 6, Lyndon Johnson, 11, John F. Kennedy, 3, Dwight Eisenhower, 1, Harry Truman, 2. And do you also see the pattern that it is the Democratic presidents who appoint most of the black federal judges? These are the facts. And when we talk about appointing black federal judges or justices to the federal bench, I was elated when he nominated Ketanji Brown Jackson, who is on the court doing a tremendous job. She is fighting for the African-American community like Justice Thurgood Marshall did.
What an idiot he is.
People said about
he is an idiot. We're gonna talk. I'm gonna let the video finish, and then I know you. I know you can control yourself. I had to pause it because I heard you. I could see your face too. You're contorting a bit, like what the heck is this guy talking about? We're almost done, and then I want you to give me your commentary. All right.
About her appointment and about Kamala's vice president position, people said, these pro-black imposters said, it was all symbolic. One of the dumbest things I've ever heard. Ketanji Brown Jackson is not on that court as a symbol. She is on that court and she is making changes. She is forcing her Supreme Court colleagues to take our matters as African Americans seriously. She is there especially to blunt the positions that Clarence Thomas has taken over the decades. All right, so we just really celebrate Justice Ketanji Brown Jackson being on the Supreme Court. And again, she's doing a brilliant job. I've read some of her dissenting opinions, and they have been totally, absolutely brilliant. I appreciate her being there. So when one considers the specifics of accomplishments that the Biden-Harris administration did on behalf of African-American people, the country at large, generally, but especially for African-Americans, again, the facts prove conclusively that he was the most pro-black president since Lyndon Johnson. No question.
I haven't seen this much bull since they canceled Rawhide. What? Again, folks, you see what it's all about. Even though this guy, I'm not a Democrat. Yes, you are. It's all about the number of Black Americans. What does that have to do with your job performance? Right. Who was that who said that? Chris Dorian. She doesn't know what a woman is, but she's great. Big Al, I never understood all this Black stuff. We are all Americans, right, Big Al? And that's what we're saying. You can see that's all he's concerned with. Blackity, blackity, black, 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 black. Stop it. Let me finish the video because Elmo's about to explode.
Okay.
So when we talk about the most pro-Black presidents, here's the way they should be ranked. First, Lincoln, obviously. He was the president who saw slavery abolished. That was the biggest and most important change for the African-American people. So Lincoln, number one. Number two, Lyndon Johnson. The legislation that he pressured Congress to enact brought teeth and reality to the 13th, 14th, and 15th Amendments.
Yes, he is a fool, Mayor. And why won't he, if he's so intelligent, why won't he say the same statement that LBJ made? I'll have the N words voting for Democrats for the next, what did he say, 200 years?
200.
Yes. So, but he won't say that. So that's how what they do. They'll say something, but they don't tell you the whole story. This guy is pathetic. Let me finish this.
Those amendments were very important, but they needed laws to give them enforcement powers. That's what Lyndon Johnson did with the Civil Rights Act of 64, the Voting Rights Act of 65, the Fair Housing Act of 68, and a host of other legislation that was passed, that he saw to it that it was passed during his presidency. And then since then, the 60s, Joe Biden did the most. And Obama comes in fourth place. And that is not taking anything away from our first Black president, because they really made it their priority, top priority, Congress, to make sure that Obama was hamstrung in what he could do. Yet, despite that, he got the Affordable Care Act done.
What now? So he's making excuses for Obama. Remember when Obama had the House and the Senate, and all these things that all these Black puppets and poverty pimps were pushing for, that he did nothing for them. So stop it. How was he hamstrung with his first term? Yeah, he only did for one group of people. We know who that is, the Alphabet Mafia. Yes, Robert said this man is as dumb as AOC. So let me finish because oh my God, Jesus.
Which today ensures about 4 million African American people.
Oh my God.
Yes, that's right. That Affordable Care Act ensures about 4 million people have insurance and don't die on the streets because they can't get affordable health care. And there's so many other things that Obama did as well that you don't hear about. Why not? Because again, the disinformation. Do you hear people saying all the time, Obama hasn't done anything for Black people. Obama hasn't done any. All they got to do is a simple Google search. And they'll see all that the man did for the African-American community, despite unprecedented pushback from a white populace that despised having its first Black president. Nevertheless, he got some things done for the African-American community. So out of 47 presidents, I rank him number 4. That's pretty good. Right behind his vice president, right? Joe Biden. So, again, I've made my case with facts.
Okay. I hope no one threw up their lunch.
Very badly.
Right. Big Al said Barack helped the rainbow. They just smoke and mirrors. Yeah, it's just smoke and mirrors. Someone said he's making my teeth itchy, and I didn't know teeth. Obama was listening to us. Why affordable health care for illegal immigrants. Yes, Mayor, U.S. Army vet, thank you for your service. Glad you made it back. Oh my God, he was so defensive. Yes, Dorian, that's how he always operates. CJ, I bet this guy is the reason why the unalive hotline is overloaded. Yeah. Yes, Robert, I will. Okay, so what's your take? Because you were having some meltdowns, Elmo. Go ahead and give us your take.
Just so many building up and listing in my head. But one of the last things he said was Barack Obama went up against a white populace. No, everybody listening to this needs to know that the majority of white people in America voted for Obama. So I don't want to hear about a white populace going up against him. All right. The day after Obama was elected, the stock market went down because Obama said that he wanted to raise the capital gains tax. And when you talk about doing that, investors get nervous. That has nothing to do with race. People got money; they have a stake in the economy. But so that's debunked. And then he's talking about Ketanji Brown. Look, Joe Biden said that she was a symbol, that she was going to be a symbol. Before he even knew that he was going to pick her, he said, I don't know who I'm going to pick, but I know it's going to be a woman and I know she's going to be black. So he's trying to tell you that she was picked because of her opinions and her ideals and what she wanted to do for black people. No, that's not how they roll.
Nope.
You can go on down the line. So Biden got picked as Obama's vice president because he's old and white, so that they were worried that they were going to push away more white people if the vice president was colored also. They put this together, and they wanted an older person for the people that said that Obama was too young and inexperienced. Okay. Then he runs for president. By far not the best candidate, but gets the nomination just off of the strength of him being Obama's wingman. That's how he got it. And so he comes in and follows suit. And he was debating Kamala Harris a year before the election, and she called him racist.
Yes.
And said that she was one of those little girls that almost got blocked from being able to come in and have a better education, because Joe Biden said that he didn't want his wife and his mother to live in a racial jungle.
He sure did.
Okay. And then a few months later, they called Kamala because she got melanin in her skin. They said, hey, do you want to be his running mate? She said, how much y'all going to pay me? He racist, but he ain't that racist.
Right.
Let's do lunch. How's tomorrow? And then, the rest is history.
Right. Yeah, you're absolutely right. And I just laugh. And again, I go back to Dr. Thomas Sowell. Like I said, to me, everything he says just makes sense. Diane, he did nothing for New Yorkers either. Does anyone miss Kamala's word salad? No, midnight. No, we're glad it's gone. CJ said this guy is so goofy looking that Disney's trying to recruit him for the job. Ouch. Woo! Troy Mafia said Obama was number 2. Oh my God. So uncivilized this country. Yeah, Baldwin. That man's pathetic, Robert. Yeah, so let me play this. Again, Dr. Thomas Sowell, if you ever have the opportunity, anyone, read his books. If you don't have time to read, the audiobooks are here on YouTube. This man is so intelligent. Let's listen.
Another theme in Wealth, Poverty, and Politics, which is a theme in the wider world, Black Lives. Quoting Wealth, Poverty, and Politics, quote, those who have promoted the prevailing social vision in which lags, gaps, or disparities to the detriment of Black people are the fault of white people are trapped in the corollary that these lags, gaps, or disparities should disappear once those other people are constrained by civil rights and policies, civil rights laws and policies. but nothing of the sort has happened. White people bind themselves to behave better by passing civil rights laws, and Black lives should improve. But nothing of the sort has happened, you argue.
In material terms, there has been some improvement, but that improvement began long before the civil rights laws were passed. From 1940 to 1960. 1940, 87% of Black families in the United States were in poverty.
87%.
87. 1960, it's 47.
So again, I want you to listen to these statistics. Listen to what Dr. Sowell is saying. So this totally debunks all of these race hustlers and poverty pimps, all of the rhetoric that they're spewing. Listen to what Dr. Sowell is saying, folks.
So there's a decline of 40 percentage points in that 20-year period.
In a generation and a half.
Yeah,
say,
and this is before the welfare state comes in under Lyndon Johnson in the form of the war on poverty, the civil rights laws, and so forth. Now, over the next 20 years, from 60 to 80, the rate of poverty among Black families goes down an additional 18%, which is fine, but it's the continuation of a pre-existing trend at a slightly lower rate. So it's not, and yet it's credited in the media and even in academia, it's credited usually to the civil rights laws and to the Johnson war on poverty. But of course, this was just a continuation of the previous trend. What really turned bad were the social degeneration that occurred over that period.
Yep.
I could go on for days about the social degeneration, but let me give you just one quick example. When I grew up in Harlem in the 40s and 50s, I never heard a gunshot. Now, I'm sure someone fired a gun somewhere in Harlem, but it was not such a pervasive thing that you had to hear it. You know, I have relatives in Washington. I asked them the same question. People in my generation.
Growing up in Washington, D.C.
Yes, and low-income Black neighborhoods. Did you ever hear a gunshot when you were growing up? And the answer was no. I have relatives in North Carolina. I asked the same question. No. And now, you know, people in housing projects especially, they put kids, some of them, to bed in bathtubs so that they won't be hit by stray bullets in the night. That's the homicide rate in the years that I was growing up. And I was really quite lucky as I went through the research I discovered, being in the right place at the right time. The homicide victimization rate among Black males in the decade of the 1940s declined by 18%. From 1950 to 1960, it declined another 22%. And then in the 1960s, when all these wonderful new ideas in the criminal justice system came in, all of that reversed, and it shot up 89% in one decade, wiping out all the progress of the two preceding decades. And you could run through a great number of other things. Children raised without two parents present. That was about 22% in 1960. One generation later, it was 67%, and it's gone up a little since then as well. And now the rate among whites is higher than it was among Blacks in 1960.
Right.
So if you look at what actually happens in the wake of these wonderful sounding policies, you see disaster after disaster.
Yeah.
All right. So, very important question. Are the wonderful sounding policies simply irrelevant, beside the point, or do they actually play a role in these social pathologies?
It would be an incredible coincidence. But you see, in fact, and I go into this in more detail in this second edition in the book. You see exactly the same pattern in Britain. And all the things that are, in fact, right down to riots in London, Manchester, and other cities, which read just like riots in Ferguson and Baltimore, and the things like race is not an issue because most of those people are white who are doing all of these things, right down to setting fire to police cars. So you see the same policies are brought in. And another thing that's very similar, and this gets into human capital again. People are saying, poor people can't rise in America anymore. And the data that they use leave out immigrants. Immigrants come here with little more than the clothes on their back. Go in here and by the next generation, their kids are excelling in school, going off to leading colleges and into professions.
Colin Powell was, his parents were Jamaican, as I recall.
Yes.
And wasn't he raised in Harlem? He's about 2 generations.
I don't know if he was raised
Harlem
there.
or Brooklyn. New
I
York,
don't know
as
where he
recall.
was raised. I know he went to college at City College, which is on the edge of Harlem at that time. It's now in the middle of Harlem.
So again, as I, obviously, as I try to lead and guide high school students, so you can continue to sit here and complain about racism and white supremacy while other people come from other countries and you're still there complaining. They're working and trying to make something of themselves. So stop.
Let me say something about that too, right? About the immigrants
Yes.
come here. Here's another fact that most people do not know. There are 3 races of brown people that, as a group, after they come to the United States, they earn more money than white Americans. That's how successful they are. So one is Pakistani. I think the other is Chaldean. I know it's an Arab nation. And then the third is South Africans, some of the blackest people on the planet. They come here. You don't see them on the news fighting with the police.
Oh, you don't.
And hear about them getting into trouble.
You don't.
So just to add some context or one example, there's more South Africans that live in America now that make over $100,000. There's a higher percentage. If you understand what I'm saying, there's a higher percentage of South Africans in America to make over 100 grand than the percentage of white people in America to make over 100 grand.
Right.
And you pretty comfortable, at that level.
Right.
Right. And so we're talking about immigrants. Most of them are from a poor or poorer background where they come from.
Right.
Where the education is, I don't think they have the resources that we have here, but they work hard and they stay out of trouble. Let's set up a perimeter. Let's set up some boundaries.
Right.
Why this man, this clown who we were listening to 15, 20 minutes ago, why won't he or any other person who's trying to be a black leader said, hey, brothers, sisters, let's first decide we're not going to commit crimes. Let's do that. That would make our crime level drop way down.
They can't do that because then they can't blame the white man, the white supremacy and racism.
Yeah, for incarceration.
Right. You're absolutely right. And again, to further debunk what that moron was talking about, I have another video. Dr. Thomas Sowell talked about how Lyndon Johnson created a huge mess. We're still dealing with it today.
Yes.
Here we go. Good, excellent commentary, Elmo. Listen to this crap.
President Lyndon Johnson speaking at Howard University in 1965.
Oh, yes.
But freedom is not enough. You do not wipe away the scars of centuries by saying now, you are free to go where you want and do as you desire and choose the leaders you please. You do not take a person who for years has been hobbled by chains and liberate him, bringing up to the starting line of a race and then say, you are free to compete with all the others and still justly believe that you have been completely fair.
It's pathetic. It's not a question of, there's no you who has the control to be completely fair or completely unfair. I mean, the circumstances are, so someone once criticized the mental tests on grounds that the tests were unfair. And I think it was David Reisman who said, the tests are not unfair. Life is unfair, and the tests are measuring the results. But who has control of life? Who has control of the past? Who has control of the culture that people have in the present, which they've inherited from the past?
So Lyndon Johnson, he's in fact although good liberal that he was, at least in regard, Lyndon Johnson had a complicated career and changed positions on issues many times. But good liberal though he was at that moment, he was in fact engaging in a breathtaking arrogance.
Yes.
On two counts. One, that white people were the ones who were responsible for where black people stood in the race, that it was up to whites entirely. That blacks, as he described, I'm
devastating.
black people are passive, they're acted upon.
That's right. That's right.
And then the second act of arrogance is the supposition that somehow the federal government could fix it.
Yes. It is staggering. But if you wanted to be charitable, you could say, well, he said this in 1965. But if you say, all right, why are people now repeating it in 2013 when we've had nearly half a century of experience to the contrary? And if you look within the black community, those blacks who had escaped what I call the black redneck culture, they've moved on. So, but it's the culture the different parts of the black community had. They were different.
Daniel Patrick Moynihan, in his famous 1965 report entitled "The Negro Family: The Case for National Action," close quote. Longish quotation, but it gets to something, I believe. Moynihan, the fundamental problem is that of family structure. The Negro family in the urban ghettos is crumbling. A middle class has managed to save itself, but for vast numbers of the unskilled and poorly educated, the fabric of conventional social relationships has all but disintegrated. So long as this situation persists, the cycle of poverty and disadvantage will continue to repeat itself. Close quote. When Moynihan wrote those words, the illegitimacy rate among African Americans was 25%. Today, the illegitimacy rate among white Americans is 36%. Among Hispanics, more than 50%, and among African Americans, more than 70%.
Yes.
Aside from throwing up your hands in despair, what is to be done?
The first thing to be done is to understand that this was a result of policies begun in the 1960s. This is not a legacy of what happened 100 years before the 1960s.
That's right.
The breakdown of the black family is not a legacy of slavery.
No, if you the classic study of this goes all the way back to the era of slavery, and they find that most black kids, even under slavery, had lived with two parents, and that was true all the way up until the 1960s. And so, if you really want to find out what has happened, what's changed, it has changed since the 1960s. And the fact that whites now have a higher rate of illegitimacy than blacks had when Moynihan wrote suggests that this is something that spreads out. But if you look at something else, if you look at those blacks, and look at black husband-wife families, the poverty rate among such families has been in single digits every year since 1994. And so if you look at the external causes, why the husband and wife families and the welfare single mom families all are facing the same society and objective things, but the results are radically different because the cultures and values are different.
So you would roll back welfare. I guess that's the principal policy. So what would Tom Sowell do? One, you'd eliminate welfare, you'd reform welfare. What would you do?
Roll it back.
All right. And what about affirmative action?
Eliminate it.
Just gone.
Yeah.
Colorblind policy completely.
Okay, so we all know, if you're familiar with Dr. Sowell, you know how he is, and those are his feelings. And when you think about it, everything he says to me, in my opinion, makes so much sense. U.S. Army said, I have nothing nice to say about LBJ. Oh, wow. Okay.
You want to talk about him for a second, about Johnson?
Go ahead. I have one more video, so go ahead and get your commentary while I set it up. All right.
Okay. This man, I don't remember his name. I don't think that I need to, but he started off talking about the best president since Lyndon Baines Johnson. And I've been saying for years that Johnson is the worst thing that happened to black
Yes.
people in the last 100 years.
Yep.
So you mentioned one thing that he said about if we put these N words on welfare, they'll vote for us for the next 200 years. I challenge not just black people. I challenge anyone watching this. Do you know anyone? Do you know anyone that's on welfare that does not vote Democrat? Right. So they have them.
Right.
They have them with that. And then he dismantled the family. He incentivized the breakup of the family, which is devastating to a race. But Johnson also said, we're going to give them their leaders. After he saw how powerful Malcolm and Martin had become, he wanted all black leaders to come through the Democrat Party so that they could control them and so that they could make money off of them.
And they're still doing it to this day.
Yep.
They have all the black shills and puppets and gatekeepers. The black
We want the hardest, heaviest hitters on our team.
Right. So that's just where we are. And again, I'm not going to play all of this black culture. But again, instead of complaining about, racism and white supremacy, it's culture.
Yeah.
I'm not, like I said, I'll just play some of this now because it's a 21-minute video. We're not going to be here that long, but I just wanted to play some of this. Now, those who've been here for a while, all of these videos I'm sharing, I actually have in the description box. So if you'd like to watch them again or watch them in their entirety, please feel free. So let me play some of this.
Quote, black and white American soldiers had children with German women. And Flynn discovered that those children growing up in Germany showed no IQ differences at all. The black kids and the white kids, the same. Quote, quoting intellectuals and race, Professor Flynn concluded that the reason was that the offspring of black soldiers in Germany, and now you're quoting Professor Flynn, grew up in a nation with no black subculture, close quote. Which means what? Which means they experienced exactly the same expectations. Is this
No. The expectations are external. The culture in which they grew up was not the culture in which black kids grew up in America today.
So there's
no gangster rap that was pervasively available in Germany. I grew up in a nation with no black subculture.
My gym coach got.
Okay, what do you think about it so far, folks? And again, this is what I hate to keep going back to my job, but this is what, I talk to students about when we tell them, don't come to school with bonnets on your head and do-rags when you get a job, okay, because some follow the rules, some don't. Some you tell them to take those things off and they want to argue and all that. So again, that's another story for another day. But we are not only trying to educate them about, obviously, as I tell my students, yes, I'm teaching you my curriculum, but also I'm teaching you how to make it and survive once you leave the walls of this school. And if you can't follow these simple rules, you're not going to make it.
Right.
And because some of them, we make them take their hats off in the building, do rags, things like that. And they get angry. Again, some do and some don't. Some act crazy and get suspended, but oh well. Great. I tell them, great to be an American. You do have a choice. And so again, that subculture where you can't say anything to me. And white teachers are afraid to say something to them. If a white teacher says something to them, they're being racist. If I say something to them, I'm being a sellout. So they don't want anyone to say anything to them. So let me play a little bit more of this and then we'll go.
That sink in. Not different genetics, not different levels of systemic oppression within Germany. Surely post-Nazi Germany was not a paradise free of prejudice. Not different skin colors between the mixed race children studied. The variable that vanished, the factor whose absence correlated with the disappearance of the racial IQ gap observed within the United States, was the immersion in what Professor Flynn termed the black subculture prevalent in America. This finding, like countless other inconvenient data points meticulously ignored or explained away by the race grievance industry, points to an inescapable conclusion. However much it may offend delicate sensibilities, culture matters.
He calls it the race grievance industry. And of course, so the guy, like the video I shared with you earlier of the Defiant lawyer, I guess he's in that race grievance industry as well. Dorian, I know that Americans have things that are wrong. Right. It's not, nothing is perfect. Tina, Americans need more of God. Yes. Let me play a little bit more and then we're done.
It matters profoundly, and certain cultural patterns, values, and behaviors are demonstrably more conducive to success, educational, economic, social, than others. To deny this is to deny reality itself. The tragedy, the brutal truth that underlies the deliberately provocative title of this discussion is that specific cultural patterns which became dominant within large segments of the Black community in America, particularly over the past half century, are not just different, they are destructive. They actively undermine the prerequisites for advancement in a modern, competitive society. They foster attitudes and behaviors that cripple human potential, perpetuate cycles of poverty, and generate devastating social pathologies. This is not about blaming victims for past injustices like slavery or Jim Crow. It is about confronting the present-day reality of internal cultural barriers that are arguably far more significant in explaining persistent disparities than the remnants of external bigotry. It is about recognizing that a culture or subculture can indeed become toxic, actively destroying the prospects of those who adhere to it, even as elites within and outside the group offer endless rationalizations rooted in external blame. To understand this requires cutting through the fog of euphemism and political correctness. It demands we look unflinchingly at the facts, trace the historical origins of these patterns, identify their tangible consequences, and dismantle the self-serving narratives that prevent honest assessment and necessary change. The reluctance to engage in this analysis, often framed as racial sensitivity, is in fact a profound disservice, condemning millions to futures blighted not primarily by racism, but by the pathologies of their own prevailing subculture. 1. Dispelling the myth of the monolith, defining the destructive subculture. Before proceeding, let us dispense with the intellectually lazy notion of a monolithic Black culture. Black Americans, like any group defined by shared ancestry over centuries, are incredibly diverse. There exist within the Black population of the United States vast differences in values, educational attainment, economic status, family structures, religious observance, and regional customs. The hardworking, educated, two-parent Black family in a stable middle-class neighborhood shares little culturally with the chaotic world depicted in much gangster rap.
Yeah, and we talked about this a few videos ago. So when people from other countries come here and they've looked at rap videos and then they make assumptions that that's what everyone and Black America does, and they are just totally erroneous information because those that have done well and are living their lives in the suburbs or whatever, they have nothing to do with that type of lifestyle. Give me your thoughts on that, Elmo.
Yeah. Again, it's always problematic when you refer to a people by a group.
Oh yeah.
And I try to make it real for people. Is say that I don't care about Black people. I don't like Black people. I say you don't give a key to your house to every Black person you know.
No.
And everybody knows at least 10 Black people that they wouldn't want in their house or near their family. So
Right.
let's stop lying to ourselves.
That's it.
Every race has good people and bad people. I like good people. Good
Right.
people, that's my tribe, that's my race, that's my
Right.
people. All right.
Right.
So, we can break bread or whatever if you're good. But again, just anybody over 10 years old that spends time outside of the house there's 100 different kinds of black people, as was said in this video.
Yep.
People are very diverse in their thoughts and in culture, or just, traveling around to different parts of the country,
Yes.
different states. It's different ways to do things. There's more than one way to season your chicken and all other kinds of food.
Yeah. Yeah.
So, it's easier to control people when you have them in one group. And this is the last thing I'll say, and let you take a turn, is that black culture is one of the many cults that are out here now. And a couple of characteristics of a cult is you cannot criticize whoever is running it, or we don't even have, we can't even name anybody, but it's just this general consensus or ideals. You cannot challenge or criticize anything. You have to go along with it. And
Right.
then also with a cult, if you try to leave or say, I'm not going to subscribe to this, I'm not going to co-sign on this, the people shame you.
And they do.
And that's what cults do. That's what the Church of Scientology or any cult will do.
Yeah, and you're absolutely right. And we witnessed that during the election for the
Oh
black
yeah.
celebrities and rappers who were coming out saying that they were supporting Trump or voting for Trump.
Oh yeah.
They were lambasted. Even Snoop Dogg, remember he performed at Trump's inauguration, at his ball or whatever.
Mhm.
And oh my God, they were trying to cancel Snoop and who was the other? 50 Cent. Anyone who supported Trump, they're
Yeah.
like, they just turned on them. That's cultish behavior.
Right.
And
They're still trying to. I mean, 3 months before the election, Obama said that Trump was Hitler, and then at Jimmy Carter's funeral, they're sitting next to each other, yucking it up. So Obama doesn't even believe that.
no, he's just saying whatever. But I saw that. Look at this. Come on, guy. He
But
was
little do people know. I bet you most black people don't know that Joe Biden gave the eulogy at a Klan member's funeral.
they don't know. They don't know.
Senator Robert Byrd.
Robert.
And what party was Byrd a member of? The Democrat Party, of course.
So you try to tell these people, but sometimes they don't want to listen. So I mean, you know it, I know it, the people in the chat know it, but that's about all. So what are your closing statements? Because I'm not going to play. I've already included the video in the description box, so I'm not going to play the entire video. So if anyone wants to watch it in its entirety, they can. But I'd like some of your closing shots before we leave.
Yeah, so I am a Christian, and so I'll kind of close with this or go in this direction. You're supposed to think of people the way that God thinks of them and the way He looks at them. He looks at us as individuals, and nobody, when we have to stand before God, are going to be able to say, "I'm black, let me in." God is going to one at a time judge us on what we have done, on our heart and our mind and our behavior. Right?
Facts.
He does it. When the Bible was written, there were nationalities and races and groups, and God never identified people by that, except for Israel, with the Jews being the group that He was going to use to do His miracles and to show what a small nation could do. So, and anybody, because I know a lot of people that claim to be Christian, so I just call them on this. And this man who was speaking, he doesn't even believe in the basic fundamental teachings of Martin Luther King, because King said, "Judge people by the content of their character and not the color of their skin."
He wasn't asking you to put black people in positions because they were black.
Right.
So,
Never. He never said do that. He wasn't a politician, and it wasn't about that. It was just about treating everyone as equal, no better, no worse.
Yeah.
And we, all human beings, all races want the same thing, and by and large, we all are able to get it. But yeah, this guy is pathetic. Talking about there's nobody on Obamacare that would rather stay on that than have Blue Cross or United or any other health insurance.
Right.
It's a bottom of the barrel, and talk about people, dying on the street, dropping dead because they don't have insurance. That's more
Right.
propaganda.
Of course. Chicago Hood said, worshiping your color is idolatry. Yes, Chicago Hood. And we've done several videos where we mentioned that. So and if you just listen to them talk, it's always, it doesn't, they have this many blacks and that many. That's
Right.
all they're concerned with. Like, dude, that's
Tokenism.
That's and tokenism and symbolism.
Today they call it DEI, but that's what they used to call it when you
Yeah.
pick somebody
Yep.
just because they're black or any race.
I'm just like, this is too much. So brutally honest. Elmo, tell everyone where they can find you.
Yeah, if you go to YouTube and just do a search on Brutally Honest Talk Radio, our channel will come up. Please subscribe to that if you haven't already. And you can also follow on TikTok, Instagram, and Facebook. And you'll get everything that we put out, our videos and our comments, and know what's going on.
Yeah. Robert said that guy could get a good lesson from Thomas Sowell. Robert, that guy wouldn't even listen to Thomas Sowell.
And Thomas Sowell, he always, everything he says is based on facts and education. He's not even putting his own opinion into stuff.
That guy has the receipts. Okay.
Yeah.
So, but then if he did try to talk to that guy, he wouldn't listen. Go ahead and drop your channel link. They're asking for your link in the chat section. Okay.
Okay. All right. 1 second.
So he's gonna drop his link, and thank you. They're saying they enjoyed it.
Thank you.
Brutally. Okay, there it is. Brutally Honest Talk Radio. So if you enjoyed Elmo here on the show today, you see how he thinks politically, and so yeah, go on over and sub him up. And he will be back on the show eventually. I don't know when, because we have different schedules. Hey, we just wanted to come on for a little bit, and I knew once I started playing that video, I knew they were going to lose it. I love it.
Yeah, crazy.
But we all needed a laugh, so it worked out just fine. So I hope all of you enjoyed the show, and I don't know, I'll be working in the yard tomorrow, but possibly I may come on tomorrow. I don't know. So I have a lot I need to do before I go back to work on Tuesday, but we shall see. But I enjoyed each of you. Dorian said that was great. All right. So enjoy the rest of your Sunday. I hope you have off tomorrow like I do. And there we go. You know where I'm going now. I'm going to the comment section, and I will talk to you as long as you are there. Thank you again for spending your very valuable time here at the Roland's Reviews YouTube channel. I'm coming to talk to you right now.